Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, we're taking a closer look at the Falcon F7 LED RGB pocket light. Thanks for watching guys, subscribe to us for more photo and video tutorials just like this. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hypop and hashtag HypopFeatures, or visit our website hypop.com.au. Let's get into it. I've got with me the Falcon F7 RGB LED here in its box, as well as a separate package here which has a couple of diffusers. So these diffusers here, first one is a sort of frosted cover. It's made out of silicone material, and that looks like it slips straight onto the light to be used as a diffusion panel for the light. And you've also got a silicone material honeycomb grid here as well that has some sort of similar mounting point as the diffusion cover. And we've got the box here, so let's open this up. We've got the F7 light itself. So the F7 light, it's pretty substantial in weight, which is great. It feels like it's a high quality build, and it's probably about the size of an iPhone or the larger iPhones, just as a size comparison. I've got my phone here with me, so you can see there it's about the size of an iPhone. This is an iPhone 10, so you can see it's about the same size. And that's the light. There's a user manual and user guide. There's also a little sticker here. So this sticker here is like a little reference sheet that shows all the different lighting effects that the light has. There's 18 different lighting effects for the light. And inside here we've got a little padded pouch or a carry case, and it's got a Velcro tab here at the back. It only looks big enough to either slip in your arm or just to wrap it around some bag straps or something like that. But it's a little Velcro tab, which is great. And it's got a nice zipper here. And inside this bag, there's the charging cable. That's a USB-A to USB Type-C charging cable. You've got a male post 1/4" cold shoe adapter, and you've also got a mounting bracket here. So this mounting bracket looks similar to like an articulating arm, where it's got just a single knob there to loosen both ends. You've got 1/4" 20 threads on either side, and you've got little locking screws here on the end, and they swivel around like a ball head, so you can reposition. This is so it can be mounted onto the different mounting points all along the light, which is actually only on the bottom here. So it's actually on the bottom only, to mount that straight onto there, and you can position that either onto a camera cage or gimbal or another mounting point that supports 1/4" 20. So we're curious to know what RGB lights or lights, if any, you're using in your current setup. Leave it down in the comments section below, and also your thoughts on RGB lights in general. Are they useful to you? Leave it down below. I've got the F7 set up on a stand here, and we'll run through some of the physical features. Firstly, there is a USB-C charging port here. So the cable's provided inside the box. You can use it with quick charge, so it supports QC 3.0. And you can charge it via an AC adapter if you have a wall outlet plug, or if you have an external battery pack, you can definitely use that, as well as just plugging it directly into a laptop or a PC. So that will work as well. On the side here, you've got the on-off button, which doubles up as a set button. You've also got a function button, and you've got the color temp dial here, the adjusting dial. So you can cycle through all the different RGB colors, or also the going between the color temperature colors as well, of warm orange to daylight. And over here at the back, we've got the RGB color wheel. So this is like a reference wheel. You've got 360 degrees, which you'll see when we turn this on and go through the menu. You can select what color you're wanting. So for example, the yellows here are sitting at about 60 degrees. So you'd want to set it to 60 on the actual menu when you want to select that particular color. Now, in terms of some of its features, the light itself has a color temperature rating between 2500 Kelvin to 9000 Kelvin. So that means that you've got that really wide range from the really orange warm color all the way up to a strong blue color as well. And you've got that mid-range which sits at about 5,750 Kelvin if you're wanting that daylight range. It's got a total of 50 daylight bulbs as well as 50 orange bulbs, and you've got, I believe, 94 RGB bulbs as well. So because of its larger size, it is larger than some of the other pocket lights on the market, such as the Boling P1. And you've also got new lights coming out from Aperture as well as other brands. So there's a massive range now of RGB lights coming into the market. It just matters, it comes down to the features of the light as well as the price point at the end of the day. So speaking of price point, this one here in Australia retails for about 200 Australian dollars. And if you're wanting the diffuser set that comes with it, so that diffusion cover as well as the honeycomb grid, it's about $220. So running through some of the other features, you've got a internal 3000 milliamp battery. So that means this is rechargeable. You don't have to replace batteries or anything like that. You can just plug it straight in. It's the same with the Boling P1. And you've also got the CRI rating of 97, which is a really high CRI rating. That means all of your color reproductions in your photos and videos will be really accurate. And the Luxe output rating at about 1 meter is about 400 or so lux. So it actually is quite strong for a small light. A light like this in most cases would be used as more of a accent light or a backlight or a hair light or something like that. But we'll test to see if this light can actually be used as a key light. In low light situations, I imagine it would be. But if you use a bunch of them, especially in a 3 lighting setup, in a low light situation, or in most situations for video, it'd be great as an accent light at the very least. Now in terms of its dimensions, it's about 156 mil in its length there, and you're about 80 mil in terms of its height, and then you've got about 15 mil in thickness. So it's quite a small light, but it weighs about 300 grams. So it is a little bit substantial in weight, and we'll find out shortly as to why it is a little bit substantial in weight, because it has a neat feature that we'll show shortly. And we also have 18 preset color features. So that means that we can cycle through different presets with the light. It doesn't just have the white color temperature, the blue color temperature, and also the warm orange color temperature, as well as all the RGBs. You've got special effects that you can find in other similar RGB lights like the Boling P1, or in even more advanced lights like the Aperture C120D2. They have all these special effects that are perfect to use in video scenarios and video scenes. So some of those examples include like a police car, ambulance, fire truck, as well as lightning effects, candlelight effects, and yeah, just cycling through the different RGB modes as well. Now what we want to see is a quick comparison to an alternative light in the market, which is the Boling P1 as compared to the Falcon F7. So I've got them both on stands here. As you can see, the P1 is a smaller light in comparison, which means the output's slightly less as well. Because it is a bigger light, it does have a few more LEDs, which means the output is at 434 lux at 1 meter. In terms of the other features, you've got an articulating arm with the Boling P1, whereas the F7 comes with that attachable arm to that 1/4 inch thread mounting point, so you can still definitely position the light in many different ways, because that arm is sort of like a ball head, an articulating arm that you can position in many different ways. Other features include, on the back here of the P1, you can see there is a HSL color palette reference, and also at the back here of the F7 it's got that. They both support USB-C and also have pretty much the same buttons and menu options. So you've got the on-off button here, and the on-off button for the P1 is at the top, and then all the set buttons are on the side here, whereas you can see all the scroll wheels, etc. are all the same. It also has that little mini OLED screen that displays all the settings for the lights there. So pretty much all in all the same. But one major feature for the F7, which is something new they've introduced, is the fact that this light here is actually magnetic. So there are magnets built into the light that allow it to attach to any metal surface, basically. You'd want it to be a flat metal surface, so not something rounded like a pole, for example, because you're wanting pretty much the majority of the surface area of the light to be attached to that surface. So I just happen to have a metal panel here from a shelving unit with me. So this here is just a metal panel. You can see the light actually sticks straight on, so even if I have it sort of slightly at a distance, I can just attach it on and you can see that it actually goes straight onto the panel. So it's actually magnetic, it moves around, so you can position that quite around quite a bit, and it's actually quite hard to remove. You need to use some force to actually get that off. So there's different mounting points, I imagine, that are built in on either corner there, so all the corners that allow it to, you know, securely mount on if it's a flat surface. So that's a really great feature, because where I can see that being useful is if you have different mounting points set up. Maybe you have metal pegs, we have many backdrop pegs, or just clamps that you use in photography or videography, and you can attach that to the light. You just need to make sure, once again, like I said, that it needs to be a flat surface. So yeah, that's really a great feature that the Boling P1 doesn't have. Let's run through some of the menu options here of the F7. So you've got the power button here at the top. Just hold that down to turn on. And straight away, you've got the battery life there that's displayed at the top right. You've got the color temperature mode, and you've also got the percentage of output there. So that's how that's the dimless control, the stepless control. So you've got a few different options. You can actually press down on the set button a few times to cycle through the different settings for the light. So you've got, if you press it down once, you go down to the RGB mode, where you can select your HSL number as well as the saturation level and the intensity. And then the next one is your different scenes, so those 18 different scenes that we discussed earlier. Now going back into just your usual color temperature mode, there you can see you can actually increase in brightness for this bottom dial here, which is like your brightness adjustment or your output adjustment. And also the color temp, you can cycle through the different color temps, so you can go up in 50k intervals basically, and cycle all the way from the 2500 Kelvin up to 9000 Kelvin there, where you get a fairly blue light. And then if you're just wanting to go to your natural daylight, the mid-range here would be 5700 Kelvin approximately, or 5750. There we go, so you're getting a natural daylight there, all the way back down to that really warm orange color there. And then adjusting the intensity, so that's a really easy setting to go through. Now just cycling it into your RGB mode, so this is all your HSL output. So as I was saying earlier, if you want to get more of a yellow hue, you probably have to just adjust the HSL there. So you just need to press down on this function button here. It actually is a little up and down wheel as well as a push down wheel, so you can press down and you can see it highlighted H there, and you just cycle that up to the number that you need. You can use that reference. There is a reference guide, so say if we're at about 180, in between there we're at a blue color, and we've got that on maximum saturation now, so you can still control the intensity there. And you can have a softer version of the light or a less intense version, whether you adjust the saturation color there. That makes it a softer version of this sort of blue tone, all the way up to a 100% saturated version of that blue tone. Now adjusting and changing into the different menu option, which is your different scenes here. So this one right now is set to scene 4, and scene 4 is lightning. You can see there it has intermittent flashes of lightning. You can cycle through all the different modes. So this one here is a fire truck, etc. And we'll show a few examples of that shortly with me in front of those scenes. And yeah, so the actual reference card has 18 different scenes that you can reference, but on the actual light itself, it allows you to go all the way up to 20. So you can see there's scene 19 and scene 20. And yeah, that's really cool. I think it's just an addition to what they've added on top of the reference here, or what's advertised. So and you can also turn that off when you don't need it. Now just to turn off the light, all you need to do is just hold down on the off button here for a few seconds, and that switches it off. Running through some of the scenes here, there are 18 different scenes advertised, but the actual light itself has 20, which is great. 2 extra scenes, so we can't complain. And we need to get it onto scene mode, and then actually cycling through the different scenes. So the very first one here, you've got this little reference card. It's a little sticker, so you can peel that off and stick that to the back of your light. The very first one here is police car. ambulance. You've also got fire truck. There's a lightning effect. And there's also a second lightning effect. It has different strobe intervals in terms of the different lighting effects. You've also got a HSL demo. So this is basically just a demo. So if you had this on display, if you're just wanting it to cycle through the different RGB settings, that's what it does here in a slow motion. And then you've got the next scene is a faster version of that. So it cycles through faster, all the different colors. You've also got a television screen effect here. And that just changes the intensity of the light and makes it flicker, similar to a TV screen.
Riots nationwide are prompting local governments to declare martial law. The president is asking that citizens find safety.
You've also got candlelight effect. So it's a warm color hue and it's also slightly flickering to mimic that of a candle light. And you've got paparazzi, similar to flashes going off from paparazzis. And then you've also got a really intense strobe effect here as well. And you've got high and low beam bulbs. So this just cycles through a high and then a low beam. And there's double flash. So that's a warm color hue and it's just intermittently going on and off. Then you've got a red flash, a green flash, a blue flash, and you've got two party modes. So it's party mode, it's just cycling through different colors. And then you've got a second party mode. Now the special 2 scenes, that's 18 scenes now, there's 2 more, scene 19 and scene 20. Scene 19 has a love heart on it. Looks like it's another candlelight effect, so this could be a scene at dinner perhaps, maybe something like a date scene. And then you've also got just a flashing HSL or RGB sort of scene here, which is similar to that other flashing scene, but this time it's just in RGB basically. So yeah, it's 20 scenes in total, which is great. I mean, those are all presets that helps you in different sort of scenes that you're wanting to create, especially in your videos. And other than that, you've also got the obvious soft orange to the blue color temperatures there, as well as just the static RGB colors that are available. So that was just a quick unboxing and review of the Falcon RGB F7 Pocket Light. For more videos just like this, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to our channel, and also hashtag Hypop features on all social media channels. Feel free to leave down in the comment section below your thoughts on the F7 light and what sort of RGB light you're using in your setup. And we'll see you in the next video.